the Packers and the Eagles in Brazil. In Brazil is kind of cool. Friday game. It's the first time we've had that, I believe, ever. It'll be a lot of fun. And Ziggy, you mentioned before we started the show, this actually might be the most important game of week one. When we talk about what it could have in the impact later in the season, whether or not that's for potential bye week. Like, these are teams that could be competing for the 1 seed. These are teams that could be competing for wild card spots if the Lions or the Cowboys are to win the divisions. Like, this game in week 18 will be very important in all likelihood. So it's a great one right off the bat. The Eagles are 3-point favorites. Great quarterback matchup. New running backs coming in. I'll go to you first for this one, Ziggy. What are you most looking forward to in this matchup?
I think the thing you have to be looking forward to most is seeing how the Eagles offense is going to recover from last year's disaster. Look, I'll say this, right? There's a mural outside this game in downtown Sao Paulo of Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts. Takes up a whole skyscraper. It's a really cool mural. If you haven't seen this, you can Google it. But that tells you what this game is, right? It's these two guys, and seeing them go at it is going to be what's important. Now, Jordan Love, I'm not too worried about him. I think he's going to play just fine in this offense. I think he's going to look as good as ever. Jalen Hurts, though, he needs the offense to get better around him, and he needs better play calling. Now, during the preseason, we saw the Eagles returning to what made them so good in 2022, right? We saw motion almost every play after being near the bottom of motion in 2023. We saw Jalen Hurts, the way he's talked about this team, he feels way more confident. He likes the new coaches they brought in. He likes the direction they're going. Obviously, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith coming off big deals. They're going to be incentivized to perform and show their worth. I think there's a lot to be excited for here on the Eagles offense, and they're going to need it. I'm not worried about the Packers at all, so the Eagles are going to have to keep up.
Yeah, I'm excited to see right off the bat where Jordan Love and his receivers
where
are.
They pick up.
Yeah, like what this chemistry's like week one against what we're expecting to be another very good team in Philly. Pressure, I feel like is pretty high right now in Green Bay. As I stated on the last show, I think there's a decent amount of pressure on them. And just to see if they can pick up from where they left off and continue that, or if it's like, all right, we got to work back up to this point. When the receivers are there, weapons are there, and I want to see how that can continue from what we saw last year, weeks 9 through 16.
Do you think that there's more pressure on Jordan Love to come in and validate that second half of the season performance in week one, or Jalen Hurts to bounce back?
I'd say Jalen Hurts.
It has to be Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's a strong news. Like both these teams, both these quarterbacks are coming into this game with some pressure. Both these teams have some pressure on them. I want to see who makes less mistakes, who doesn't let that get to them. Because for this Eagles team too, Jalen Hurts to start the season strong is super, super, super important from a confidence standpoint as well.
And from just a belief in Jalen Hurts standpoint, like for fans and the rest of the team.
Right.
He's no lock. Like, everyone views him as a superstar, but if he comes out and has another bad season, and he had ups and downs last year, but there could start to be more and more questions.
Yeah, 100%.
So real quick before we get to what I'm looking forward to, one other thing, you guys both mentioned the offenses. So Josh Jacobs in his debut with the Packers and Saquon Barkley in his debut for the Eagles. Between the two, personally, I'm looking forward to seeing Saquon come in here, because we talk about the running backs that we really think are game changers, being Saquon, Derrick Henry, maybe not so much anymore as he's getting older, and Christian McCaffrey. So I can't wait to see Saquon, how he blends into this Eagles offense, where everyone's talking about this being the best unit he's ever been a part of after, his whole career with the Giants right now. That Philly offense has a chance, like Green Bay too, to be very special. And I can't wait to see both these guys debut for their teams.
Okay, it's hard not to say
it's gonna be awesome.
To say Saquon as well, who I'd rather see out of the two, but I'm excited to see both as well, obviously. But Saquon being the only running back who I've said kind of goes against my non-running back stance, is we've seen him just so dominant on a team that didn't block for him. Like, single-handedly the only weapon on an entire offense that probably if he's not there, I don't know how many games the Giants win. So now put him on one of the better offenses in football. When clicking, it could be a very, very, very dangerous thing. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah. Ziggy,
Yeah,
any thoughts?
I mean, what did DeAndre Swift put up last year? Like 200 receiving yards. I mean, Saquon Barkley, the rusher, he's great. Don't get me wrong, but Saquon Barkley, the receiver out of the backfield, is an even bigger threat. And I think that's the way the Eagles are going to try and go after Quay Walker and this Packers defense. Right? There's going to be some big tests for a few players on the Packers who, let's not forget, right, are bringing in a new defensive coordinator, a new system, are asking a lot of guys to take another step up. It's a huge test for them week one. And Saquon Barkley is a player who, when healthy, and he'll be healthy week one, presents a unique matchup challenge. He's really tough to cover when he's feeling good.
Oh, yeah, almost impossible. So that's funny that you guys both mentioned the offenses, because even though that's where all the flashy players really are in this game,
the defense will decide the game.
Defense, yeah, the defense is like what's going to decide it. And there's so many new pieces. Vic Fangio, new coordinator in Philly. Jeff Hafley, the new defensive coordinator in Green Bay. I can't wait to see how these defenses come out after an entire offseason, learning new systems, bringing in new guys. Packers fans will know Xavier McKinney. They've been talking about him like he's a complete unit changer for them. And he might be. They have him, and Bullard comes in at safety. A lot of new pieces for Green Bay. And it's that secondary is being challenged with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson right away. If that Packers secondary comes out and makes a statement early on in week one and can shut down, or not even shut down, but just look good against Philadelphia, I think that is something that Packers fans are going to sit back and go, okay, like we know we have the offense, but if this defense gets going, like that could really make them start to believe, not just hope for a Super Bowl, but believe it's possible.
I'm also more excited than anything to see the Brazilian girls in the crowd.
Well, I will say this. Packers fans last year, what did you complain about in our comments every single time? You said that this Packers defense wasn't aggressive enough. Well, last year, Jalen Hurts was zero blitzed, right? Cover zero, just send every guy you can at him, more than any other quarterback in the NFL. Actually, 12 times more than second place. He was 56, place was 44. In those situations, an EPA per play, he ranked 31st in the NFL. So last year, Jalen Hurts really struggled when defenses went after him very aggressively. And I think that's the game plan the Packers are going to bring in. Now, will it work? Who knows? But you need to see a tone shift, because if you go for the same old conservative defense, it's not going to work.
Ziggy, wasn't that what the anonymous GM or anonymous coordinator came out and said? If you zero blitz Hurts, he doesn't know what to do. He gets confused. He panics. I'm pretty sure that quote came out a couple weeks ago. And yeah, so we'll see what Jeff Hafley does in his debut with Green Bay. And then lastly here, just the Eagles defense as well. I just want to mention them. Their secondary, Quinion Mitchell starting for the first time.
New and young.
They're bringing back C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They have a lot of new pieces as well with Devin White, new linebacker core. Nakobe Dean only played in a few games last year. So that Eagles defense, despite having some big names, whether or not that's from their NFL days or from college, they're like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. They fell off a cliff last year. Like this Eagles defense was horrendous in the second half of the season. I mentioned it during the NFC East preview show. I'll just really quickly say it again here. Like Jalen Carter went from 4 sacks, 7 QB hits, 2 forced fumbles through 8 weeks to 2 sacks, 2 QB hits for the rest of the season. Like didn't do anything. Jordan Davis, basically non-existent. The run defense, number 1 in the NFL to 31st over the final 7 weeks. Like so many weird things happened in Philadelphia. And we've said it has to be something more. There had to have been something falling apart in the locker room. But what Eagles defense shows up? Is it the first half of the year defense that looked really good? Or is it going to be that second half of the year defense?
Teams are able to throw all over them as well. The secondary was just horrendous. Horrible. One of the worst in the league. Super underwhelming. Now you got some new faces, some young faces back there.
Vic Fangio too. That's a huge part.
Vic Fangio, but now these Green Bay Packers receivers, as we know, they're a handful. There's 3 or 4 solid wide receivers for a secondary that
Packers
really
fans will say 5.
Yeah. And it could be 5, but
Packers fans will say 8. Let's be clear.
That's true.
But for a secondary that really struggled last year, I'm curious to see how they perform against these Packers receivers.
If I am Matt LaFleur, I think I'm coming out there and I'm just slinging it all with Jordan Love.
Definitely.
I know that's aggressive, but I want that Eagles secondary to prove to me that they can slow down Love and the receivers. And Josh Jacobs is going to be a lot of fun to watch in that offense too. Well, again, we'll get to the prediction during our game picks. The Packers at the Eagles. Eagles 3-point favorites at the Eagles in Brazil.
So I've been on Philly most of the offseason. I am now on Green Bay. I think Jordan Love and the offense comes out on fire. Philly struggles a little bit, and Green Bay gets the job done. And our fans are happy at the Packers. Go Pack, go.
This is the year that our luck finally turns, Paul. The Vikings fans are finally going to get to see what they want. And that's going to start with the Packers losing. Jordan Love not quite getting it done in Brazil. Our luck turns around now. Give me the Eagles.
Yeah, I actually think that the Packers are going to win this game. But for my game pick, I have to pick the Eagles because I cannot.
We can't pick the Packers to win, right?
I can't.
Not this.
Look. When there's a week where Green Bay is just clearly the better football team, I will not. I am not so ashamed that I will pick against them every.
No, the Packers are playing the Panthers sometime this year, right?
Yeah, and I will have the Packers winning that game. But for week one, give me some hope. I'm going with the Eagles to win this game.